Yesterday, we had a massive solar storm that ended up with the best viewing of the Northern Lights all the way since 2003. And based on this map here, all the areas in pink pretty much had 100% coverage across a good part of Canada, but even further south into the US, they were able to see portions of the Northern Lights, especially into places like Connecticut. I saw pretty good pictures all the way down into Virginia region, even as far south as Kentucky had some pretty good Northern Light viewing, and even into portions of the Illinois area. And I even saw some pictures checking in from the northern side of Oklahoma, even seeing some of the Northern Light action. So if you're able to see some of that yesterday, definitely leave a comment below and let me know what you were able to see in your backyard. But it's still cold, guys. We had a pretty significant cold front that went all the way down to the deep south, and it's actually cold now in Alaska. But you can see predominantly a good part of the US is well below normal, what you would typically see this time of year for the month of April. But out west, we're starting to see those above average temperatures really start to build out west. And I do feel that would only actually intensify as we get deeper into the week. But here's the setup. So we're watching this area, this cold front coming in from the Pacific Northwest. This is the system that's going to be diving southeast. Actually, that's going to be creating a pretty good snowstorm across the Intermountain West and portions of the western slopes of Colorado. And further south, look at the cold front, how rare that is for that cold front to drift all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico for the late April timeframe. And even up into the northeast, we're watching another boundary here that's going to be lifting off into the northeast. But for the most part today, it's fairly clear, but that's not going to be clear for very long because this cold front will be backing up as a warm front. And as it does, it's going to be increasing the moisture levels, but also increasing the instability, and severe weather will be back in the picture for Tuesday and Wednesday. And much needed rain is going to be dropping across portions of Oklahoma where they desperately need the rainfall. But there's also some winter weather advisories with that storm system that's going to be diving in from the southeast. So they've got newly warned winter weather advisories up here in the Great Falls area and to Helena, Montana. Those are winter storm warnings for Bozeman, Montana, but further south into portions of, say, Casper, into the Cheyenne region, and then west of the Denver area, they could be looking at some pretty significant snows, probably 4 to 10 inches, a good widespread swath back into Colorado Springs. Some heavier snows is going to be falling over the next 24 to 48 hour time frame. And something new, I'm excited about. It's going to be the first annual POW cruise that we're going to be happening for. It's not until spring break of 2024. But yeah, if you'd like to join me on a cruise for the entire week, it's going to be leaving out of Galveston. Here's the actual itinerary on the cruise and all the details. This is a QR code that you can actually scan and check it out. But I'll have the link in the description below. But yeah, definitely join me on this cruise because I'll be on it with my entire family. And then this is a great way to meet me. And this is going to be the Royal Caribbean Harmony of the Seas cruise line. It's going to be leaving out of Galveston that second week of March of 2024. So here's the setup for tomorrow. So like I mentioned, the cold front is going to be lifting back up as a warm front. It'll be really kind of draped across a good part of central Texas, and that's where the instability is going to be with more severe weather. And then just to the north of that warm front, that's where heavy rain is really going to be breaking out across a good part of Oklahoma. There's the snow that'll be moving in across portions of the Intermountain West, and the heavier snows right there just west of the Denver area. And that'll be on the day on your Tuesday time frame. And like I mentioned, with that warm front, we are going to be dealing with some severe storms. So the main setup will be some larger hail, essentially from Austin up here to the Waco region. It could reach as far north of the I-30 corridor, but I think with that warm front staying down there into the Waco region, I think that's where the main instability would be as far as the severe weather. And if you were to see an isolated tornado, it would actually be down there as well. But obviously we can't rule something out as far as north of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. heading into the heat of the day tomorrow afternoon into the early evening time frame. Here's the overall rain prospects between now and Wednesday morning. So here's that same system, that cold front that's draped across portions of Florida, and with that cold front stalling down there in the central Florida, that's increasing the rain amounts, and they desperately need the rain down there into Florida. Much areas are in a desperate drought, so this is actually a good sign that we got some soaking rains down in that region. But further off into portions of Texas, with that cold front lifting back up as a warm front, we are going to have some light to moderate showers, some heavier rains along that front. But the main instability heading into Tuesday through Wednesday morning is going to be right here into the Oklahoma region. That's where they're going to be picking up the heaviest rainfall on the day on Tuesday, and that'll sneak into portions of Kansas. And again, these are areas that desperately need the rainfall as well. We'll be watching another system that's coming in. This is a little boundary region that'll be draped across portions of Illinois and Indiana. That'll bring some light showers for that region. And then that low pressure center where that cold front is up here in the Northeast will also ring out some showers and storms across portions of New Hampshire, back into the Vermont area, and heading into the state of Maine on your day on Tuesday timeframe. But heading into Wednesday, that warm front lifts a little bit further north. So now it's going to be stalling right along the Red River area. So that places much of the Dallas-Fort Worth area locked into the severe storms. And again, the heaviest rainfall will be really highlighted over Oklahoma, Arkansas, and now into a good part of North Texas and then East Texas. There's that boundary to the north, shifting that rain shield from the northern side of Illinois to the southern side. And as the snowstorm will start to wind down, it'll leave itself with a very, very wet snowflakes, maybe possibly into the Denver area. You could possibly pick up maybe a ½ inch to an inch right there in Denver. But the main system will be just to the west of that area, probably a good swath of at least 4 to 10 inches of snowfall. So here's the setup on your Wednesday. So as the warm front will continue to lift up from the south to the north, obviously that will pull in a lot of the Gulf moisture and increase in the dew points. And so I think the warm front stops right there along this boundary into the Red River area. And that's why we have the most instability across this region. We'll be looking at some more severe storms for that region, and then draped across the coastal regions with some heavier rainfall. And further north, you won't have the severe storms in Oklahoma, but you will definitely have more heavy rain entering the day on Wednesday. So if we break this thing down for you, here's the setup. So we have just marginal risk further north because I think the warm front stalls right there along the Red River. So places into East Texas, North Texas, back into the Fort Worth area, into Central Texas again, all the way down as far south as the Austin region. This is the highlighted area. Have a slight risk for severe storms. We're looking at all 3 modes of severe storms: large hail, damaging winds, and an isolated tornado. And if this were to get upgraded to an enhanced, which I think it will, it'll probably be areas maybe south of the I-35 or I-30 corridor, southbound more or less into Central Texas, back into Waco region, with the stronger potential to probably see an isolated tornado just to the south of that warm front there into the day on your Wednesday time frame. So, but here's the rainfall. This is all beneficial rainfall heading into the Wednesday time frame, with a slight risk for excessive rain draped across all of Oklahoma, a good part of Arkansas, and now North Texas finally gets into the action with a heavier rainfall back into East Texas. And again, that shifts further south into Central Texas. And then lighter amounts once you get into this green shaded area. So in these green shaded areas, you're likely looking at a ½ inch to probably 1.5 inches. That'll just be in the day on Wednesday. But within this yellow shaded area, easily 1 to 3 inches. And that's just on that daily basis on the Wednesdays type setup, where I think you're going to have the most significant rains really of the week. But there's the snow that's going to be flying across a good part of Colorado. So you have the Intermountain West regions, and then it really picks up and intensifies essentially just west of the Fort Collins area, west of the Denver Metroplex area. I think Colorado Springs gets into the action. That's why they've got the winter storm watches in place. they're likely in the 4 to 10 inch criteria. Some isolated amounts could have some heavier snowfalls, even up to 16, 18 inches, maybe even 2 feet possible. And this is a higher elevation event. It's a higher elevation event. You're talking well above 7, 8, 10,000 feet up there, but still some pretty good snows. They're going to be unfolding across a good part of the western regions of Colorado. But here's the setup by Thursday. Like I mentioned, you're kind of locked into the cooler air mass pretty much predominantly for the central and eastern 2/3, while much of the west starts to really warm up in a big way. This is a major flip than what we've seen as of late, because all these areas have been well below average, and now you're entering areas that are getting well above average temperatures, and I think that will actually intensify as we head towards the end of April. So here's the setup heading into Friday. So we have another quick moving system that will be moving in along a cold front again. It'll be draped across a good part of Oklahoma, a good part of Texas again. I think it has another probability of heavier rains by then, and possibly even some severe could be on the table again. That'll be on the day on your Friday time frame. Here's the rain shield as it comes in into Friday afternoon, Friday evening time frame across this cold front. So you'll have some showers inundating, of course, portions of Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, back into portions of Kansas, locked into over Oklahoma again, back into North Texas, and then there's another area of instability along the East Coast, back into the Carolinas. Florida gets back into the action with some heavier rain showers in a good part of the southeast. Even portions of Ohio this time will start to get in the rain action. That won't be until the day on your Friday time frame. But again, that's a reinforcing shot of much colder conditions coming in off that renewed force of a cold front. That'll be on Saturday morning. So these are actual low temperatures as we head into April 29th time frame. All these areas in red, right? Below freezing. So it's going to feel a lot like winter won't let up, and then spring will be feeling a lot more like spring, or well below average of spring, because it's been a fairly cooler time for the last week in a lot of these areas with that massive cold blast. And it just, again, we have a reinforcing shot as it comes into your day on your Saturday time frame. There's the below normal temperatures, what you would typically see this time of year, 10 to 15 degrees below average with that renewed shot of colder air. But look out west, it's slowly building. It's going to be really building in a big way. So all these areas, again, just the opposite, 10, 15, upwards to almost 20 degrees above normal conditions to close out April. And then underneath that, there's where the rain showers will be. So you'll have clearing skies back behind that cold front, but out ahead of it, obviously you've got the instability with that pretty good low pressure center that's going to be draped across the portions of Missouri. That'll swing across portions of Louisiana, back into Mississippi. This will be the day on your Saturday time frame as the leading edge of the first system will be draped across a good part of the mid-Atlantic states with rain showers for that region. But the cold air is the real deal, folks. That continues to pummel in with that reinforcing shot that comes in on Saturday. The beginning of the first couple of days of May is even on the chillier side, which you would typically see this time of year. So well below normal conditions continue for a good part of the central and eastern 2/3, while much of the west continues to remain well above average, and that heat will really start to build. So here's the surface map heading into Sunday. So once that cold front moves through, you can see there's not much activity back behind that cold front, but nothing but just colder air, and out west much warmer air. But out ahead of it, we've got that low pressure center will be draped across a good part of the Ohio Valley regions, and then that will bring some heavier rains over portions of Virginia. That'll head back into the DC area and even get into the New Jersey area by the time we head into your Sunday time frame. But out west, it's completely the opposite. The heat is on out west, while the cold front enters the central 2/3 again. The heat is on out west, with the even triple-digit temperatures starting to show up on the map. And that's Phoenix, folks. You hit the century mark as you end the month of April. And then as you begin May, it just even gets even hotter, topping out at 104 degrees there in Phoenix. So, you know, once you hit the hundreds, there's really no turning back as summer is quickly approaching in that neck of the woods. And I think this heat will eventually start to really build over across a good part of the West and eventually head in towards the central US. So here's the setup by Monday the 1st, where it's dominating 104 degrees down there in Phoenix. It's completely the opposite across the central and eastern 2/3, especially up here in portions of Michigan again, back into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. They take the brunt of this colder air mass, reinforcing shot of colder air as you start the month of May. But as you go into the first couple of days of May, that ridge of high pressure will slowly propagate towards the central US and really start to build across the middle of the country. And I think we can say goodbye to the colder, below average temperatures by then and start to really warm up in a big way, especially across the central portions of the US. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me in the next update while I protect you before and after storm.